So yeah, I'm going to give a bit of a talk about our development practices, things we do inside this project. Remember, this is not me telling you what we're doing is right. It's kind of me telling us what we're doing now, and we're open for discussions on this topic. That's also why this talk is relatively short. Please try to keep the discussions to after I'm done. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them during the presentation. So yeah, I'm gonna walk you through our principles regarding basically from idea to patch. So I'm gonna talk a bit about design docs, I'm gonna give you a quick tutorial on how to import this project into Eclipse, since that's something that Joseph mentioned this morning. I'm gonna talk about code style, why your commits should be small, or code reviews, the fact that we have a continuous build and test up and running, and how to deal with third-party dependencies inside our project. So yeah, let's get started. So if we want to make large changes to our code base, we proud ourselves on the fact that we actually write design docs for these things, because it's pretty important. Because we want to communicate to you guys, and also internally, what we've been doing is that what and how we're going to change, and that way we can agree on our approach before we write too much code, which, well, would basically be lost time if we had to change some stuff. And also, you should, however, not worry about the fact that the doc might become out of date after the stuff is implemented, because the way this project works is basically kind of like extreme programming. It's continuously changing, so you shouldn't worry about that too much. But it's important that you discuss big changes with the rest of the people so that they know what you're doing. And things to include in the design doc is, of course, the objective. What do you want to reach? Requirements. What does it need to do? What does it need to uphold? You need to include the design. And a good other thing to do is then to talk also a bit about the alternatives you have considered, and why those alternatives did not make it to be the actual design. That way you can give a better image, a better overview of what you thought about during your process of making this design document. So now I'm gonna switch over to show you quickly how to import this project into Eclipse. On the Google Code site, you can grab this handy dandy command you can run when you have Mercury installed. Let me quickly go out here. Just paste it in. You can change the map name if you want to, the folder name, and then going to check out. In the meantime, Eclipse is our personal preferred IDE. Of course, you can use anything you want, but we actively have a project file and code style file for Eclipse. So if you use it, you're in good hands with us. Well, that's checking out. You should make sure that you have Java 1.6 or Java 6 installed. So there were some problems with projects not compiling for some people, where their compliance was not set to the right level. I will quickly show you where you can do that as soon as the checkout is finished. There we go. So yeah, basically all you have to do in Eclipse is do a new Java project. You give it a name, like Google Wave demo or whatever. You don't use the default location. You browse to the folder you checked out. You see a bit of gadget work there. You tell Eclipse to use that project, to use that folder. The cool thing is when you update, you just press finish. The cool thing is when you HT pull and update, Eclipse will also automatically capture those files if you hit refresh in Eclipse. Waiting for the import to be done. You can basically see here that it's failing, and that there's a reason for it, because some of the files we use are generated. So one more thing you have to do when you actually checked out the code is to run and-gen gxp. It's generating the files we use for our templates. So once that's done, you can refresh your project in Eclipse, and it should all go green. There we go. Only warnings, no errors. And then you're basically good to go. So I told you about the compliance. There's one thing that's under projects into settings and then Java compiler. Make sure you have 1.6 selected here. It's 1.6 by default for me, but if it's not, you can enable project-specific settings and make sure it's set. That way the annotations like override work properly and you don't get any compiler errors. One quick thing which I also would like to show you is that I open another project, is that you can basically run from Eclipse if you make your own run configuration, which uses all the arguments the run script has, and this allows you to run in Eclipse and debug and set breakpoints. And we'll go into some more deeper details about grid hosted mode and how to hook that up with Eclipse during some other sessions, maybe install fest this afternoon, not sure. So yeah, let's switch back. So when you have the code in Eclipse, you also have a formatting file, which we use to keep our code style equal across our code base. We do this for a couple of reasons. It makes it easier to read different classes, especially when you have not been involved in active development on those classes, but you just happen to be able to use them for your work. It makes it easier to review for the reviewers if you use the style, our code style, because they are experienced in this style, and if you actually use it, they don't have to spend that much time on telling you how to fix it, but actually can spend more time on whether or not your patch actually works properly. It also makes maintenance easier. If the code is well styled, you can more easily see what's going on where and what might be going wrong. And as said before, for Eclipse, the formatting is provided. When you do the checkout, as I've shown before, Eclipse will automatically pick up the formatting for you, so you don't have to do anything. The formatting is based on what we do inside Google, which is based on the Sun formatting with a few more changes. So yeah. If you make a patch, try to keep it small. Basically, we would like it for big changes. You should actually try to break it up into smaller changes. Each of them should still be meaningful, though, because a meaningless commit is not really useful. Also, it makes it easier to isolate faults if you go step by step. It's easier for the reviewer. There's nothing more terrible than waking up on Monday morning and seeing that you have a 5,000-line code review waiting for you. We call them Jupiterian code reviews, but yeah, that sucks. Also, a lesson I learned during a talk given by Ben Collins Sussman and Brian Fitzpatrick is that commit early and commit often, and don't be afraid to show your work. This is actually a talk you can find on YouTube. It's called Programmer Insecurity and the Genius Myth. They've given this talk all over the US and all over the world, I guess. They gave it at Google I/O 2009 as well. I really feel it's relevant. Don't be afraid to show your work. The team itself is pretty eager, and we really like to help you along if you run into any problems. So, yeah. And this is maybe something you can also take with you. That you should not be sitting in your own shell just coding away. It's good to work in a team. Then we have, once you have created your small commit or your small patch, we perform code reviews on it. This is so we can uphold our code quality. It makes it easier to maintain, easier to change our code base if we actually have reviewers reviewing your code, because every line of code is seen by multiple people. This allows us to share the knowledge that's inside your patch to multiple people. So if you leave, someone else must have seen that code before. So it allows knowledge to be distributed. Reviewers usually check the first three items. Does it solve the right problem? Has it been written before? If so, then you need to refactor, I guess. Is it idiomatic? So whether or not it's actually in a natural language is easy to read. And in some sense, they want you, of course, to adhere to the style guide, but you should actually just do that on your own, and we should not have to tell you to do it, because it takes time away from the reviewer. There's a lot going on. The code base is constantly changing, so they have a lot of work to do. This code review tool is up on codereview.waveprotocol.org. So when you want to submit a patch, you use the code review script, which is inside the main folder, and it will put up your code on codereview.waveprotocol.org. Yes.
Because when I first started submitting stuff, I tried to make my code editor match the same style through the settings. Did you all release the settings you all use for?
It's in the settings file now. So when you create a new project, it's in there, and otherwise you can actually import the formatter settings into your own project.
Not all of the settings are in there. Like internally in Google, there's like the defaults are all slightly different. So there are some settings that are in there. So for example, my Eclipse winches all the time that I don't have like serialized ID or something that the settings file should be fixed to make it so it ignores that one as well. But more
ignoring warnings is maybe one of the issues, but mainly code style and how the line and spacings and all that kind of stuff is in there.
Right, so if you're using Eclipse, you have the settings file.
Yep. And otherwise you would try to, if you're not using Eclipse, I don't think we have a detailed document up on it, but you should try to mimic whatever is around your code, because that's usually supposed to be right. So try to mimic whatever you see. That's good. Okay, so next up is that we have a continuous build and test running. This we do to isolate breakages. I actually broke something yesterday, so it mailed me, and I fixed it. But it mails the list, and it mails, I think, the person who committed it. I think, yeah, which is good. We do this after a commit has been placed, due to what the tool does. You're supposed to be running tests beforehand, so I should be ashamed, I guess, for breaking something. But the test on libraries take 50 minutes, and we might work on that later on. It's running on this link. It's hard for me to pronounce to you all. I can actually show you, of course. It's basically running Hudson on our 2 repositories we have. Seeing the weather. The weather is kind of sunny for default. There's some clouds for libraries because that was broken yesterday. This tool will show whether or not the builds are all good to go. They're not green, but they're blue here, unfortunately. Apparently, we're there. And our rule is basically to not push any changes if broken, except when we want to fix those changes. Otherwise, it might become harder to actually fix whatever is broken if you keep building on broken stuff. Well, the last thing I want to discuss is how to deal with dependencies inside this open source project. Open source is a wonderful thing. There's a lot of code out there that you can use. Basically, anything you can think of has been written, I would say. So, in a sense, again, don't reinvent the wheel. Wave in a Box is licensed in Apache 2.0, which basically means we can use Apache 2.0 projects and BSD licensed and MIT, as long as we stay away from GPL v3, or v2, which is not compatible with, and there are other issues with that. We're good to go. And for new dependencies you want to introduce is you should use a properly release so we can find it back. Some of our third-party code, we have some patches on top of it because they did not, their releases did not work well and they never made a new release sometimes. We also include a README file to state which version where you got the source from, what it's used for. And we also would like to try and include the source files whenever we include dependencies, because then when you're debugging, you can actually step through those source files for third-party libraries and see what's going on with your code. And that's about it. I would like to answer any questions you have or start discussions on how we can improve our process or whatever you want to bring up about how we deal with external contributors. think we have around 4 who have access. I'm not sure about the numbers. I'll be an external one soon too. So.
James, question: how many people have submitted patches?
Yeah,
That's
basically.
more than 4, for sure.
Yeah.
You don't actually have to be an active contributor to submit a patch either, do you? You don't
No,
have to be
you can
someone
just
who-
submit a patch and someone will review it for you and you can fix it if need be, but then that person will commit it. But we have a few external people who have rights to actually push code to our code base. And if you are an active committer and you deliver well quality code, we will give you that access.
Not
There's
many
a
people.
contributor license you have to sign, but then you can submit patches.
Yeah, it's like any other project really, where you just go through a process. And the small, if you're just doing it, one or two patches a year or something, you don't have to get deeply involved in the process. You just
Yeah,
whack it in and
there's
see
just
what-
there's one license you have to digitally sign, either as an individual or if you're working for a company, because in case this code needs to be relicensed, that means we have a statement from you that that's okay. Basically, that's what it's used for, as far as I know. Anything else?
So process is fine for things you want to kind of introduce into the actual model, but is there a way we can support a community building up applications that might have very defined uses, not for maybe the box, but things to say, hey, these are all sample gadgets or sample or plugins, different things people build around waving a box that might not get in the actual spec, but it should be housed in one location so that people can contribute to what they've done, kind of like what we're asking about demos around here. Someone does a cool demo wants to. They did it on their own, might not want to take the time to go through reviews and say, hey, here's something I've done and it works, here's a clone, go download it and play around with it if you want to.
It's a good question. I think we don't
You
have
can
a.
set up group at a very basic level. You can set up a group which you can start submitting code, patches to. People say, here's an idea I've got, here's the patch. What do you think? And then you can sort of work from there into like a gallery of contributed gadgets, robots, that sort of thing.
But
Yeah.
I think actually maybe having just an experimental branch or experimental folder, in the repo would be useful. Because basically you can still have the main line wave in a box, but then if there's something that isn't directly in scope for wave in a box, which I think what you're getting at, having an experimental folder which is a little bit more freeform and isn't reviewed in exactly the same way, seems appropriate.
And another thing, it doesn't necessarily have to adhere to the license structure to be included in a wave. So someone, I think I heard does an Oracle plugin, that should be housed somewhere for someone that has Oracle licenses and they want to share that. That should be there.
Not sure we can legally put that on our code.google.com where we are at.
Well,
though.
not Oracle itself, but basically the plugins that will make it work. So have your your license for Oracle, whatever.
I think it's common to create a contributor project that has a structure that overlays on top of the core project. So you check out the core project and then you check out the contributor project and drop the code in and then you can build everything together. But the contributor project is managed separately from the core project. So you don't have to impose some of the more strict processes on the contributor stuff.
Right. And can we do that in a centralized location instead of everybody having their own stuff somewhere?
I think anybody can create a codegoogle.com project.
You can actually just click on clone on the Google Code
But
webpage.
My point is, can we support it community-wide as opposed to?
So you're looking for a centralized repository of these experimental things?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be done.
I mean, because right now, someone will post something on the wave protocol and say, oh, I've done something, and then that message gets lost, and someone coming into the protocol has no idea how to find that because it's not.
It would be nice if we could include that on the waveprotocol.org website as well.
Yeah. Just set up a website, Wave Experimental or something like that. Say this is how you set up give instructions on how you set up a code.google repo for code.
No, I think actually what you could just do is, as part of your documentation, James, you could add a page that says if you want to do something that isn't directly in line, just check it into experimental/foo, where foo is the name of your
There's a question in the back.
Are there any plans today or over the next few days to kind of go over the source code structure, like what folders, what's in each folder, kind of?
So
Blank slate, there's like a proto source and this is source and there's just a lot of folders. So it'd be nice to kind of have like a skeleton of what's in each one.
So the question for the people who are still watching is whether we will go over the how the source code is structured inside our repository. I currently don't have an answer to that, but I think we will, but I don't know when.
I mean, it seems
Anyone?
like what we could do is just on top of the install fest, if people are installing, but also at the same time,
Yeah.
if people wanted to sort of, I can put Joseph on the spot.
Sure.
And,
Apparently on top of
Soren and Lennard can help him.
on top of installs fest, we should be able to do that. And we're here all weekend. Basically, Thursday and Friday are also coding days, and that's definitely where you would go deeper into the code, where we can help you out with that.
Do a brief overview this afternoon as they're building through it.
Yeah, and if you have any suggestions how to make it better, they are welcome, really.
Could also try to throw in a slide in the talk tomorrow. You're talking about authentication. I'm talking about ways to federation try to include the code.
Yeah, so in the presentation for tomorrow, include where the code is actually located. So that would, yeah. Anything else? Guess not. I think we're done here.
Yeah, so I think.
What's next?